Imagine AI that can, like, decipher whale calls, hidden in hours of ocean recordings, or even filter out the noise from a crowded room to focus on a specific conversation.
It's the world of sound computing. It's really exploding right now with innovations.
Absolutely. And we have a stack of fresh research papers. They're hot off the ArcSIF press,
Hmm.
and they kind of reveal the latest breakthroughs. So we're going to decode these complex papers today.
Yeah, and we're going to show you how these cutting-edge advancements could impact your life, from entertainment to environmental monitoring and even cybersecurity.
It's really amazing. So one paper tackles the challenge of detecting whale calls in the vast, noisy ocean. And this is crucial for marine conservation efforts.
That's right, and researchers have developed a new AI framework. It's called DSMIL-LocNet, and it uses something called weakly supervised multiple instance learning.
So how does that work? What does that even mean?
Well, it means that the AI can learn to identify whale calls without needing perfectly labeled data. So think of it like learning to recognize a friend's voice without, like, transcribing every word they've ever spoken.
Oh, that's a really good way to put it.
And what's even more impressive is that DSML-LocNet can actually pinpoint the location of these calls within recordings that can span anywhere from 2 to 30 minutes.
So it can tell where the whale is in the ocean based on its call.
Exactly. It analyzes how the sound arrives at different underwater microphones and uses that information to estimate the whale's position.
Wow. So, like, how could we use that information?
Well, that data could be used to create quieter shipping routes, or it could even be used to help protect whale breeding grounds.
That's amazing. And I guess this technology could also be applied to other marine animals as well, right? Not just whales.
Absolutely. Think about coral reefs. We could use this technology to track the sounds of snapping shrimp, which are a key indicator of reef health. And then we could understand how noise pollution from, things like ships or construction is actually affecting these really delicate ecosystems.
Yeah. That's so cool. Another paper addresses the familiar problem of struggling to hear someone in a noisy environment, which we've all experienced, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah, definitely. And researchers are now using deep learning and something called generative adversarial networks, or GANs for short, to train AI to separate signal from noise in audio recordings.
Okay, so how effective are these models?
Well, these models are trained on simulated audio data, which means they learn general principles of sound separation, and then they can apply these principles to real-world recordings.
So it's like a boot camp for sound analysis.
Yeah, exactly. And this technology has such a vast range of potential applications. I mean, you can use it to improve audio quality for podcasts, music recordings, even hearing aids. You can use it for speech recognition systems and even forensics.
Oh, wow. So you could isolate a suspect's voice from a crime scene recording.
Exactly. Implications for law enforcement are immense.
Definitely. Um, let's turn to deepfakes,
Mm.
which are now a threat to audio as well, not just video.
Right. AI can now mimic anyone's voice convincingly, and this poses a huge risk to trust and security.
So what are researchers doing to kind of mitigate this risk?
Well, they've developed something called Deepin, which is a new penetration testing methodology that basically probes the weaknesses of existing deepfake detection systems.
Okay, so it's like an ethical hacker for deepfakes.
Exactly. Deepin helps us understand how these systems can be fooled, which is crucial for developing stronger defenses.
Right, so what has Deepin uncovered so far?
Well, it's revealed that even simple manipulations like time stretching or adding echoes to audio can trick current detection models.
Wow, so we're kind of in an arms race then as deepfake technology gets more and more sophisticated.
Absolutely. We need to constantly stay ahead of the curve by developing more and more robust ways to detect these deepfakes.
Okay, let's move on to speech recognition, which has become such an integral part of our daily lives.
Yeah, it really has. And, models like OpenAI's Whisper, while they are super powerful, they can also be very computationally expensive.
Right, which limits their accessibility, especially on devices with limited processing power. So what's being done to address this?
Well, researchers are using a technique called light ASR. It uses low-rank approximation to shrink the size of these models without sacrificing accuracy.
So can you elaborate on how shrinking a model works? Like, how does that even happen?
Sure. So light ASR targets matrix multiplications,
Mhm.
which are the most computationally intensive part of speech recognition. And it approximates these matrices with lower rank versions.
Okay, but does that affect the accuracy of the model?
Well, it significantly reduces the number of calculations needed, but without significantly impacting the accuracy of the results. So what this could mean is that we could have more responsive voice assistants, we could have real-time translation even without an internet connection,
That would be incredible. So now let's consider AI that can not only identify sounds, but also understand the sequence of events they represent.
Right. And researchers have developed a new framework called JITR, which stands for Jigsaw Temporal Transformer for Event Reconstruction. And what it does is it trains AI models to recognize patterns in sound sequences.
So how does this actually work?
Okay, so imagine you record a bunch of everyday sounds, like, a door opening, footsteps, a car horn, and then you shuffle those sounds randomly. So jitter basically trains AI to reassemble these scrambled sequences.
So the AI learns the order in which these sounds typically occur.
Exactly. So it's forced to learn both the individual sounds and the order in which they happen.
Oh, wow. So this is like a whole new level of sound analysis.
It really is. And it has incredible potential for things like security systems. So they can analyze surveillance audio and detect unusual patterns, like breaking windows or forced doors. You can use it for healthcare devices to monitor patient sounds and identify like irregular heartbeats or breathing difficulties. And you can even use it for software that automatically edits audio for podcasts or movies.
That's amazing. So finally, researchers are now using deep learning to create 3D models of the human vocal tract from MRI data.
Yeah, this is pretty groundbreaking. And it's allowing us to see for the first time the actual mechanisms that allow us to speak and to sing.
So what are the implications of this technology?
Well, it holds immense promise for understanding how we produce sound, diagnosing vocal disorders, and even creating realistic virtual singers.
Wow, this is just the beginning of our exploration into this amazing world of sound computing.
So we talked about how AI is transforming our understanding and interaction with sound in part one.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these developments are impacting everything from marine conservation to entertainment and even cybersecurity.
Yeah, and as these technologies continue to advance, so do the ethical considerations surrounding their use.
Right, that's a really important point and something we should definitely keep in mind as we continue this conversation. So let's return to the research, though, and explore some more fascinating findings. I was particularly interested in the use of deep learning to segment the vocal tract from 3D MRI data.
It's a remarkable accomplishment, really. I mean, AI is unlocking these new insights into human anatomy and physiology.
So essentially, AI can create these 3D models of the structures that are involved in producing speech.
Right. Imagine being able to see the intricate movements of the tongue, the vocal cords, all the other parts of the vocal tract as someone is speaking or singing. This has huge implications for understanding how we produce sound, for diagnosing vocal disorders, even for creating realistic virtual singers.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about. This could be a game changer for like speech therapists, vocal coaches, animators who are creating lifelike digital characters.
Yeah. It's really blurring the lines between the physical and the digital worlds, and this opens up exciting new frontiers in science and art.
Absolutely. So tell me more about jitter. You mentioned it earlier. It seems like it has the potential to really revolutionize sound sequence analysis.
Yeah, jitter is a great example of self-supervised learning in action. It trains AI models to reconstruct audio sequences that have been deliberately shuffled.
So the AI is basically learning to solve a sonic puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. And by doing that, it gains this really deep understanding of not just individual sounds, but also their temporal relationships, so how they relate to each other over time.
So like recognizing the letters of the alphabet, but also understanding the grammar and syntax of a language.
Exactly. Understanding these temporal patterns in sound is essential for making sense of the world around us.
So what kind of real-world applications can we expect from jitter? Like, where do you see this going?
Well, you could imagine security systems that can analyze surveillance audio and detect any unusual patterns, like breaking windows or forced doors. Healthcare devices could monitor patient sounds to identify things like irregular heartbeats or breathing difficulties.
Yeah, that could be life-saving.
Absolutely. And, even jitter could be used to automate audio editing for podcasts or movies, making it much faster and more efficient and maybe even more creative.
Wow. So imagine AI composing soundtracks or editing dialogue with like human-like sophistication.
It's really mind-blowing. It just demonstrates how rapid the innovation is in sound computing. It's like science fiction is becoming reality.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, but there are also those ethical considerations that we need to keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have to consider the potential for misuse.
Yeah.
Like the creation of deepfakes or surveillance systems that invade people's privacy.
Right. It's this delicate balance between harnessing the good and safeguarding against potential harm.
Yeah. And that's a conversation that really needs to involve scientists, policymakers, and the public.
For sure. So let's talk about the use of deep learning to filter out unwanted noise. I mean, this has the potential to be so transformative for people who struggle to hear conversations in crowded rooms, or, even just to clean up audio recordings.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a game changer.
So how does this technology actually work?
Well, researchers are using something called generative adversarial networks, or GANs for short, to train models to differentiate between signal and noise.
Oh, I've heard of JANs. I know they can create like realistic images and videos, but this is the first time I've heard about them being applied to audio.
Yeah, it's a relatively recent application, but it's showing incredible promise. So basically, a GAN consists of two neural networks. One is called the generator. It creates realistic audio. And the other is called the discriminator. And it tries to distinguish between real audio and the audio that's been generated by the generator.
So it's like a game of cat and mouse between two AI systems.
Exactly. And through this adversarial process, the generator learns to produce audio that's so realistic that it can fool the discriminator, and that includes separating signal from noise.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. So what kind of real-world applications can we expect from this technology?
Well, imagine hearing aids that can filter out background noise so people with hearing loss can more easily understand speech in crowded environments.
Yeah, that would improve the lives of millions of people.
Definitely. And think about speech recognition systems that are more accurate and robust in noisy environments, or audio editing software that can seamlessly remove unwanted sounds from recordings.
Yeah, this could revolutionize podcasting, filmmaking, video conferencing, so many possibilities.
It really could. AI is basically enhancing our auditory experiences and, making the world a more sonically pleasing place.
Yeah, I like that. But are there any potential downsides that we should be considering?
Well, as with any powerful technology, we have to think about the ethical implications. The potential for misuse and surveillance or for creating deepfakes.
Right. With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. We need to approach these advancements with both enthusiasm and caution and make sure that they're being used for good.
Agreed. So let's delve into the use of low-rank approximation to make speech recognition models more efficient.
Yeah, this is really exciting because it's making this powerful speech recognition technology more accessible on devices that have limited processing power.
Okay, so how does this low-rank approximation actually work?
Well, it's a technique that simplifies the really complex calculations behind speech recognition models, but without sacrificing the accuracy of the results. It's kind of like compressing a large file without losing any data.
So it's like creating an elite version of a speech recognition model that's just as effective.
Yeah, exactly. And because it takes up less space and requires less processing power, this could lead to more responsive voice assistance and real-time translation on devices with limited resources.
Wow, this could be a game changer for people in developing countries
Mhm.
or remote areas with limited access to high-powered computing devices.
Exactly. AI is democratizing access to technology, and it's empowering people all around the world.
And that's really what it's all about, right? Pushing the boundaries of science to create a more inclusive and equitable world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So let's take a closer look at the use of deep learning to analyze whale calls and, track their movements in this vast ocean.
This is a great example of how AI is being used to address a really critical challenge in marine conservation, which is monitoring and protecting endangered whale populations.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to learn more about this. So how does this technology actually work?
So researchers have developed this AI framework called DSMIL-LocNet, which uses weakly supervised multiple instance learning to identify whale calls and pinpoint their location within these really long recordings.
Okay, so remind me again, what is weakly supervised multiple instance learning?
Right. So it basically means that the AI can identify whale calls even without each call being perfectly labeled in the training data. It's kind of like, recognizing a friend's voice without knowing every word they've ever spoken. And what's amazing is that DSML-LocNet can pinpoint the location of these calls within recordings that can be, anywhere from 2 to 30 minutes long.
Wow, that's impressive. So it can actually determine the whale's location in the ocean just based on its call.
Yeah. It analyzes how the sound arrives at different underwater microphones and then uses that information to estimate the whale's position.
This data could really revolutionize our understanding of whale behavior. Their migration patterns, how noise pollution is affecting them. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And this technology could even be extended to monitor entire marine ecosystems,
Yeah.
helping us understand and protect these really fragile environments.
It's amazing the ingenuity and the creativity of these researchers.
It really is. It's an exciting time to be following the world of sound computing. The innovation is accelerating, and the possibilities seem endless.
It's really true. So before we get too carried away, though, let's take a step back and think about the broader implications of these advancements.
Yeah, that's important.
We talked about the potential for misuse and surveillance, or the creation of deepfakes.
Right. We need to be mindful of how these technologies could erode privacy or spread misinformation or even worsen existing inequalities.
It's true. Technology is a tool, and it can be used for good or for bad.
Exactly. We need to make sure that these really powerful tools are used responsibly and ethically.
Couldn't agree more. So let's wrap up part 2 of our deep dive into sound computing.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the world of sound computing in these last two parts.
It really has. I mean, it's just amazing how AI is revolutionizing the way we understand, create, and interact with audio.
Yeah, and it's been so fascinating for me just witnessing the convergence of all these different disciplines, like from acoustics and signal processing to artificial intelligence and marine biology, all being driven by this power of sound.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore. But before we conclude, I think it's important to revisit the ethical considerations surrounding these technologies.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that we really need to keep in mind as these advancements continue to accelerate.
Right. We talked about the potential for misuse and surveillance, the creation of deepfakes that could be used to erode trust and spread misinformation, and the possibility of these technologies exacerbating existing inequalities.
Right. And, those are all very valid concerns. And I think it's essential that we have these open and honest conversations about these issues as we kind of navigate this uncharted territory.
It's like we're holding this powerful new tool, and we need to learn how to use it responsibly for the benefit of humanity.
Absolutely. And it's a shared responsibility. It requires collaboration between scientists, policymakers, ethicists, and the public.
Exactly. Technology isn't inherently good or bad. It's really how we use it that matters.
And, our deep dive today, I think, reveals this tremendous potential for good. Like, sound computing is opening up this whole world of possibilities, from revolutionizing healthcare and conservation efforts to enhancing communication and creating new art forms.
It's really incredible. I mean, these advancements are pushing the boundaries of science, and they're shaping a future where technology can empower and connect people.
Yeah. It's a future that's filled with both promise and peril. And it's up to all of us to shape it wisely.
I love that. So as we wrap up this sonic adventure, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will remember?
I would say that the world of sound is this vast, unexplored frontier. And AI is giving us the tools to unlock its secrets. So we need to venture into this new sonic landscape with a sense of wonder and responsibility, and with a commitment to using these technologies for the greater good.
So well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you'll stay curious, informed, and engaged in the conversation about the future of sound computing. It's a future that we're creating together.